Alrighty, hi everybody. Just making sure that my mic is working. Seems to be okay. Checking sound. Okay, so this week we are going to go over lab number 1, which is your player control lab. We are going to do it from the very beginning to the very end. Feel free to pause this video, go back, rewind, whatever you need to do to be able to get through this. Couple of things before we start, some housekeeping things. I am viewing this as a student, so you're going to see this little pink bar down here on the bottom that says Leave Student View. You will not see that on yours. I also have up a Microsoft Word document that I'm going to save my screenshots to. And then I have VS Code open, and we'll go through that as well. All right, so I am going to hit begin. There is no time limit on this. We wait for it to load. And we continue waiting. There we go. Okay, so first thing I am going to do is click Create with Code and open it in a new tab. So you're going to want to keep up your lab and your tutorial at the same time. Okay. So the way that these labs work is there is a spot for a screenshot in each step of it, and it depends on the step what I'm asking you to put in with it. So the easiest way to do this is I'm actually going to drag my window out, and then I'm going to slide it over here. So that is now my the tutorial from Unity. This is our lab, and we'll just continue doing that with the other things. All right, so it's a little small for me. I'm going to hold down Control and mouse scroll wheel up on the Unity lab so I can see. So the first thing we're going to do is on your desktop. I don't want you to do it in your desktop. I want you to create this in your OneDrive, okay? So in your OneDrive, somewhere, you should have a folder with this class name, and we're going to save your files in there. That way you have access to your files outside of this class if needed. We'll see if it gives us any trouble about importing assets not on the not on your hard drive. So I am going to create a folder. Try this over here. And then I'm going to name it, or rename it at this point, Create with Code. Okay. And then I'm going to open Unity Hub, which I don't have already open. So Unity Hub. All right, so this is what your Unity Hub should look like when you open it up for a new project. So your Unity organization should be your install name. If you need to sign in, you can sign in right up here in this user menu. Your window may look a little bit different depending on whether it's in light mode or dark mode. I choose dark mode pretty consistently. Okay, so we are going to, I'm going to shrink this up a little bit. We are going to select the Projects tab. We are going to select New to create a new project. New project. And then we are going to select 3D built-in render pipeline template, name the project prototype 1, and set the location to the new create with code folder. All right, so leave that the same. We are changing this to prototype 1. And then we are going down here to where it says location. And we are going to that folder. So select folder. Okay. Okay. And then we are going to select 3D built-in render pipeline. So, okay. It is actually changed to universal 3D. So make sure you are doing that right here. So universal 3D. And then you're going to hit create project. For this one, since it's just the first one and it's super quick, we're not going to hit version control. Next week, we're going to also include version control in it. Okay, great. It is going to give you the software terms. I would suggest you read them all. Okay, so it is creating the project. Now for this one, you are going to upload a screenshot of your project folder with your project in it. So I have my blank Word document right here. I am going to go ahead and just drag this over that. I'm going to create number 1. And then I'm going to open my snipping tool and have that at the ready. And then we wait. And wait. Let's see if it's already in our folder. Okay. It's getting really close. You can see it's at 53 out of 56. Sometimes in development, a lot of your lab time is going to be just waiting for it to install stuff. While it's doing that, I'm going to hop over here. So the reason that I tell you to take a screenshot and put it in a Word document or whatever text, like word processing software you use, as opposed to just like copying and pasting it in here, is that it doesn't always necessarily save. So it's easier to go through after the fact once you've done all your steps, and then just like Control C, Control V, or Command V, Command C, Command V into the editor here, or not editor, sorry, into the quiz here after the fact, instead of like going through and doing it and then having to stop in the middle and then coming back and everything's wiped. I know it does this because I tested it and it did it to me. So sometimes it does save, sometimes it does not. It is just a function of Canvas right now. I've not found a more elegant way to do it. This part is brutal. All right. Cool. So now that it's done, going to let it finish doing its thing. I'm going to one more open package manager. We'll deal with that in a minute. Oh, that's fine. Okay, if it comes up with this, go ahead and just update it. And then I also want you to do me a favor. Let me see if it's still in here. Okay. We may have to look that up. There is a way to make it so that instead of opening Visual Studio, it opens Visual Studio Code. I don't necessarily want you using VS, just regular Visual Studio for it. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to look it up. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is look it up. So luckily, Visual Studio Code is great with documentation. So we've got Visual Studio 2021. Like, I think it's actually it's 6.2, so we're good there. Visual Studio Code is installed. So the next thing we're going to need to do is install Unity for Visual Studio Code, right? So in Visual Studio Code here, I've already got it up. So in Visual Studio Code, when you open it, you're going to want to go to these like 3 boxes that make an L and then the sideways box on it. That's your extensions area. If you go to that, you just type in Unity. You want the one that says Unity integrates with Visual Studio Code by Microsoft, right? It should look like this one right here. You want to install it. Mine says uninstall because it's already installed. Okay? So install it. The next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that the Visual Studio Editor package is upgraded to 2.0.2 or above. We are at 2.0.23, so we are good. The next thing we need to do is set it in our preferences, pardon me, as our external editor. So we go to Edit, Preferences, External Tools, I believe. Yes, External Tools, and then Visual Studio Code as external script area editor. So the reason that mine defaulted to it is because I don't have Visual Studio installed at all. So like if you have Visual Studio installed, you're going to want to go down and select Visual Studio Code from it. Okay. So now that we have done all of this prep, I am going to go to my snipping tool, take a screenshot, Control or Command C, and then over to the Word document, paste. Ready? Okay. I do realize that this causes you to juggle a lot of windows, and I apologize for that. Realistically, you can also just keep this tutorial up, the walkthrough, the quiz up, and do it from there. But if you want to watch the Unity done videos instead of these videos, you got to keep both up. So that's why I'm keeping them both up. If you need to, you can also just use this. So we are going to download the prototype starter files. It has downloaded. And then we are going to go to where it goes. And we are going to extract all. It has now created this nice little prototype starter files there. Please ignore all of my lovely extra downloads. I kind of use it as a file repository, even though you're not supposed to. All right, so we are going to go to the editor. We are going to make the editor a little smaller. We are going to go to Assets, Import Package, Custom Package. You can go ahead and exit out of the build profiles if it's up once you're done importing your package. Otherwise, it's gonna bug me. So you just go down until you get to the Unity package file, and then you hit open. And then it's gonna think some more. Okay. Okay, custom package. Okay, select import. And then we wait. Luckily, it's not as bad. Closing out the build profiles. Okay. And then we're going to go to, so this is important, right? The Unity editor layout is like divided into parts. And they're labeled, just not entirely intuitively. So this is your inspector over here on the right. This is your hierarchy, which shows the objects in the current scene. This is your project window down here, which shows all of your files in your project. Your console also shows any sort of errors. We have some errors here that we're going to have to take care of eventually. And then if you're doing animation, this is where you do your keyframes and stuff. Okay, so we are going to go to, also I think my mouse is dying, so if it acts funny, just bear with me. In the project window, we're going to Assets and then Scene. So Assets and then Scene, and then Prototype 1 Scene. Okay. Okay. Delete the simple scene without save. Okay, so here is what I think I have done. I do think I have done the wrong render pipeline. So we're going to try some things here. Documentation is your friend. All right. So I think we did your URP. Let's see what we were supposed to do. Built-in render pipeline. Okay, that's fine. All right, so we're gonna go to edit and then project settings and then graphics. Okay. Okay. Let's do the built-in. Okay, to set the active render to the built-in render pipeline, you must tell Unity that you are not using any scriptable render pipeline based on render pipelines. Sure, that makes sense. That is a horribly written sentence. When you've removed all references from your project settings, blah, blah, blah. So open quality settings. So I looked at the wrong thing. That's fine. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to cancel out. Edit, project settings, quality. Okay. Okay. For each quality level, set render pipeline field to none. Render pipeline asset. All right. So we're going to start at mobile. We're going to set to none. Continue. Already better, right? Start PC. We're going to set to none. Okay. Okay. Make sure we don't have to do anything else. Okay. Open the graphic settings. So graphics to none. I just want to make sure that it is doing that for mobile too. Okay. 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 So as you could already see, it's a lot better. So I'm going to hop back over to 2. Okay, we have imported it. We are going back to our scenes. We have deleted our scene. We are going to right click and drag. Sorry. My mouse is set up a little different. On mine, it is the middle mouse wheel and drag. So I'm holding down the middle mouse wheel and dragging. So if right click and drag does not work, middle mouse wheel will work. Okay. Okay. And then the last thing we do is we upload a screenshot of your Unity window showing your scene. I now see that there's a typo there. We're just going to wait. There we go. New. Boop. Control or Command C. Boop. And then enter. Okay. All right, so we're making a driving simulator in this, right? So we need to add a vehicle to it. So what we're going to do is, and I'm actually going to like shrink down my project window here so I don't have to keep switching back and forth. So we're going to go to Assets, Course Library, and we're going to go to Vehicles. And there are a couple of different vehicles. It looks like the render on them is messed up as well. Let's see once we drag it out. Okay, render is fine. Okay, so we have clicked and dragged it out into the hierarchy. This is our hierarchy over here on the right. We're going to keep the vehicle selected. Um, if your editor, your game window, your scene window does not. Okay, so I guess I should back up here. Sorry, squirrel moment. Backing it up a little bit. This is what your game preview looks like. Okay, this is what your builder, your scene editor looks like. Okay, so on this one, I am holding down right. If you do not see your vehicle within your scene window, double click on it. So if I click on the main camera, it shows that vehicle, right? Vehicle selected. So I'm holding down right, and then you can also do WASD to kind of fly around it. So I'm holding down the right key. Okay. You can zoom in and out with the scroll wheel. I'm going to try to do this to where I don't make you all motion sick. Okay. And then if you hold down Alt, on the Mac keyboard, it's the weird curly Q one. But if you hold that down and then left click and rotate, you can rotate around a focal point. And then same thing with Alt and then right click to zoom in and out. If you've taken the Illustrator class, that should be pretty familiar. Just like that, like with Illustrator or Photoshop, if you mess something up, Control Command Z can undo. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is take a screenshot of our screen with your vehicle in focus. So I'm going to bring back up my snipping tool, do a new one. There we go. Command or Control C, Command or Control V, enter. Pardon me. Okay, so the next thing we need is an obstacle. So we need to choose one and position it in front of the vehicle. So I'm going to first kind of move my camera a little bit so that I can see things a little better. Okay, I like it there. So now we're going to go to our course library, same kind of area where we were before. So I'm down here on the bottom left. We're going to go to obstacles, and then we are going to drag an obstacle out. I do not care which obstacle you choose. Feel free to choose whatevs. Like it gives you a bunch, right? So I have chosen the spool. I have just dragged it. Instead of dragging it into the hierarchy, I have dragged it out into my scene window. Okay. So, okay. I need to make sure that it stays highlighted. Otherwise, my inspector window is just completely blank. So I am going to go to the transform component, which is this component right here, the second one down. And then I'm going to click the more options button, reset. Is it because I'm so zoomed in? Okay. Right click, reset. That sets it back to 0, 0, 0 with a scale of 1, 1, 1. So again, there's not really a super obvious more options. Oh, it's right there at the top. I just can't read. I promise. I promise I have reading comprehension. All right. So we're going to change the, I'm going to scooch this back in. We're going to change the X, Y, Z location in it. So not the rotation, but the position. So X is going to be 0, Y is going to be 0. We're going to move things along the Z plane. I'm just typing in the numbers 25. You can see that it's placed it in front of your vehicle, but further out. So we are going to then, in our hierarchy, we're going to rename some stuff. So right click and then rename. And we're going to name it vehicle. And then same thing. So I'm actually going to show you a different way as well. So you can right click and rename. You can also go over to your inspector, which is the way that I prefer it. But it does not matter either way. And we're going to name it obstacle. Okay, and then hit enter, and you'll see that it updates over in the hierarchy as well. Okay, and then it wants a screenshot. We're going to upload a screenshot of our hierarchy. So hierarchy is this left one over here. Boop. Grab it, put it in. There we go. And then we're going to go down to 5. So now that we've set up our vehicle and obstacle, let's try running the game. So we're going to select the main camera in our hierarchy. We're going to hit F to focus on it. So in addition to double clicking, which I tend to do, you can hit F and that does the same thing. So like if I select my vehicle and hit F, that's going to focus on it. So main camera. And then we're going to press the play button up here to run the game. It's going to think about it real hard. Okay. And then we're going to, okay, that's what I thought. I want you to upload a screenshot of it in play mode. So just make sure that you get the fact that it's in the game tab. So Control C, Control V. Okay. So, and then we're going to hit stop to send it back to our scene view. Okay, next we're going to make sure that our player moves. So the thing about this is that you can have a like a free view camera, but in general, most point of view cameras in games are either that like sort of over the shoulder perspective. You can have the third person or the first person perspective. So we're going to kind of do an over the shoulder first person perspective here. So we are going to move and rotate our camera to behind the vehicle looking down on it. So the move tool is the second one down. This hand tool lets you move around within the window. So our move tool, we're going to kind of scooch it back. And then if you actually hold down command or control while you move, it moves it by whole units instead of like decimals. At least it's supposed to. It doesn't seem to be. Well, I guess it sort of does. Anyways, we want this kind of up, and we can check our game. Can't really see it there, huh? Oh, let's rotate it down. That'll do it. Nope. Oh, that's because I was rotating the wrong one. Okay, we're going to reset that. Okay, so now it's facing it. we want to, I think it's going to be our Z. Nope, it is not our Z. It is our Y. Okay, that's a little bit too much. Let's do 45. Check our game. We're getting closer. Like, realistically, when you're doing this for realsies, like, you should not be doing this way, but we're doing it this way to make a point. And I'm going to rotate that a little less. Let's try 30. That's at least a little better. So now you can see it. I do want to scooch it over like a tiny bit. Okay, there you go. Okay, so now I want you to take a screenshot of your camera selected behind your vehicle. So we're grabbing that. Just the scene window is fine. Okay. And then 7. The last thing we need to do is that we need to update our editor. So we are updating our editor itself, right? So like the layout of it. So in the top right corner here, we're going to change this from whatever it is on to tall. It is going to do it that way. We are going to move the game view beneath the scene view. So I just grabbed it and dragged it. Okay. So now I have scene view on top, game view on bottom. It's much easier to see where everything is. In the project window, which is over here, we're going to click the little drop and do one column layout. There is that. And then in the layout drop down, which is here, we are going to save layout. We're going to name it my layout. Okay, and hit save. And then we are going to name it or take a screenshot of our new layout. So new window. There we go. Not VS Code. Okay. So I absolutely hate this layout. After this, change it to whatever layout feels comfortable for you. I will keep it this way for y'all to be comfortable with it, but like in general, I prefer my project window to be like further out so I can actually see stuff, but it's fine. Okay, so next we're going to actually start scripting. So this is our first script. So in the project window, bam, in yeah. So you can put it in a couple places. You can put it in assets. You can put it just in the project window. I tend to put it in assets just because I like all of my assets together. I will not dock you if you do not put it in there. Either way is fine. The biggest thing is I need you to put it somewhere where you're going to be able to find it. Okay, so create a folder named scripts. We're going to go into the scripts folder. We're going to create. So I am right clicking and then create. And then we are going to do a scripting. And we are going to do an empty C# script. Yeah. Okay. We are going to name it player controller. Unity, the best practice is not to use camel case, it's to use so don't put spaces in between your scripts, like names, and then capitalize both the whatever words you have in there, start it with a capital. Okay. So we now have a player controller script. We are going to I'm going to pop out my hierarchy here. It's going to reload everything because it's creating the script. And then we're going to drag the script onto our vehicle object. Okay. Needs to derive from mono behavior. That's odd. It's fine. Mono behavior script. All right. So let's name it. Then we grab it out onto our vehicle. Okay, so now over here in our inspector, we can see that it has a script attached, player controller script. Okay. So I want you to then open and grab a screenshot of your inspector so that I can see that the script was added correctly. Okay, we're on step 9. We are more than halfway done. Okay, so we need to make the vehicle move forward. So movement and everything in here is done through scripting. Everything's done through scripting in terms of like controlling stuff. Pardon me. I have the hiccups tonight. All right, so we're going to double click the script. You can either double click it here or over there. Going to open it in VS Code if you did the right thing or the thing we did at the beginning. Now, here's the dealio, in this class, you are more than welcome to use Copilot as your coding AI companion. You don't have to cite it. However, if you start using it, it may cause like unintended consequences because it's going to try to put things in there that you're not necessarily wanting to put in there, right? So use caution. Okay, so in the update method, so void update, we're going to add a comment, and the comment needs to say move the vehicle forward. So the double slash just means comment, which means that like other developers can see it, but the compiler, the thing that builds the code, will not try to run it. So move the vehicle forward. And then, so with this one, I want you to do multiple screenshots. I don't know why I have inspector in there twice. I will fix that immediately after this. But I want you... Actually, go ahead and just upload a screenshot of your script. So, there we go. I'm wondering if it just copied over the one from the last one. Okay. 10. Now we have a comment saying that we will program it to move, but we actually got to make it move. The way that you make it move is that you transform it, right? So, you know how when we moved our spool or whatever obstacle out, we did the transform to where we moved it down the road. We're going to do the same thing with the vehicle. except for instead of doing it manually, we're going to do it automatically when it plays. I'm going to go ahead and close out Copilot. So we need to do transform, which it should autofill, which if it offers to autofill it, do it. All right, so we're going to actually translate, not transform. So we're going to translate. And you see in here these extra things, right? So these extra things are arguments in there. So that is like, in this case, it takes a vector 3, which is 3 values, right? So it's wanting, how much do you want it to move the 0 or the X, Y, and Z axis each time it updates. And it updates like once per frame, depending on how your frame rate is set up. So in this case, we're going to want to move it the Z axis. So it's a 0, 0, 1. Okay, and then the last thing we need to do is we need to add a semicolon. If you do not add a semicolon, you're going to see the nice little squiggly line at the end. The red squiggly line is not your friend. It means that there is something wrong. So whenever you see that, pay attention to it. If you do not end your line with a semicolon, it's like telling the compiler when it's building it, there's no stopping point. The semicolon is, hey, this thing that you're telling it to do is done. Stop. Okay, so I'm going to, you can either file save or control S. Saved it. I want you to go and take a screenshot of this. You don't have to take the whole thing, just the update works fine. Okay. That was 10. Oh, I hit B instead of V. I don't want navigation. There we go. And then, so like at this point, I want you to try it out too. So I've hopped back over to my Unity editor. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. It's going to compile it. And you see, wow, that's fast, right? Okay. But it does move. Now it doesn't hit our obstacle. So like we're going to have to deal with that eventually, but for now, don't worry about it. Okay, so translate is one way to do it. Unity has some built-in functions that make it a way easier. So instead of hitting in the vector 3, what we're going to do is delete that, and we're going to explicitly just put in vector 3 and then forward. So vector 3 dot forward. Okay. So I'm just hitting tab over it when it goes over the autofill to put it in, and then save again. And you can hop back over at that point. Each time you update, it does need to recompile. So it's going to do that. And then you hit play. And then, okay. And you see it works just the same. So at that point, go ahead and take a screenshot of your script. The reason that I have you doing this is because this way I can troubleshoot. Okay. And I can make sure you're doing them all in the same step. So that's way too fast, right? Like it is crazy bonkers fast. So we need to slow it down. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to add some arguments to it. So we're going to adjust the code. So I'm back in my script. After forward, I have clicked. So in between the end of the word forward and the end of parentheses, and we're going to do the asterisk, which means times. And we're going to times it by white space doesn't matter in this, so you can either add a space or don't. And then time dot delta time, if I can spell, okay, which means like the current time, and then 20, okay. So go ahead and upload or take a screenshot of that. I don't know if you can hear, but there is a puppy in the background and they are chewing on a toy. Okay. Okay. Now let's check the speed now. Save. Save your file. Save it. Save it, save it, save it. Save it. Save it. Gotta save. You know, if we don't save, it doesn't update. A lot more reasonable. Okay. Alright, so we should have just one more step. So we need to add physics. Okay? So what physics are going to do in this case is they are going to give our objects mass. So we need to, like, so they'll stop when they collide, right? When they hit each other, they'll stop. Something you should know. If you do not hit stop on your play mode and you make changes, they will not save. So once you hit stop, they will undo. So make sure that you are not in play mode. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, we've got the vehicle still highlighted here. So in the inspector right here, we're going to go down to add component. We are going to add a rigid body. Okay. Do not change anything. You don't need to change anything. In the obstacle, we're going to add component, rigid body. Okay. So now that we've added them, I want you to go back and increase the mass of the vehicle and the obstacle to be about what they would be in kilograms. Let's see here. Tank mass. So tanks range between 40 and 60 tons. That's bonkers. That is insanely bonkers. 907. And then the obstacle is a spool. These things are what, like 50 pounds? So 22. So again, I am just in the hierarchy. The object is highlighted. I am down in the inspector and rigid body and mass. And then go ahead and hit play once you've updated that. All right, there we go. Play around with it too. Like play around with different weights and stuff, different masses. Save. Make sure you save often in this. Like save more often than you would want or you would think about. And then the last thing we need is just in your inspector showing the rigid body. So Control C. And then the last thing for the lab is once you are all done, take this Word document here and you are going to copy and paste everything over. So Control C, Command C, Control V. Oh, there's... my bad. I thought 13 was it. Alright, we're going to keep going. We're good. Okay, so 14. Okay, so we are going to duplicate the obstacle and make it more treacherous for the vehicle. So, obstacle's already at the bottom of my list of the hierarchy. We are going to zoom out a little bit here. Command or Control D. duplicates it, and then just drag it down a little bit. Okay. And then Control D and drag it. Control D. This one I'm going to put out like 100. It's too far out. Okay, so I've done a couple now, right? So you can see them all there. And then you can also control click to select multiple things. So select everything and then Control D. And now they're all duplicated and you can all move them at once. Okay, so at that point, I want you to take a screenshot of your hierarchy. Wabam. Okay, 15. All right, so we need an easier way to change the vehicle's speed. So like, it's kind of a bummer to have to go in every time into your script and change your speed. It's much easier to do it from the inspector. So the way that we do that is through a variable. A variable just means that it is a thing that is variable. So it can change. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and close out my Explorer so that it's a little bit easier to see there. Okay, so before our update and not within our start, okay? So like, see, that is Copilot. Do not stop. Jeez. All right, so we want to do public space float speed equals 20 semicolon. Okay. And then instead of the times 20 down here, we want to change that to speed. So square. Okay. Okay. And then we need to grab another screenshot of the script. I want to be able to see your variable and the updated line in your script, okay? Okay. Okay. So, next problem. Camera is stuck at original position instead of behind the player, right? So we want our camera to be behind our player. So we're going to create a new script and attach it to the camera. So couple of ways you can do this. You can either add component down here and do a script. And name it follow player. Create none. And then add it to your scripts folder that way. Or you can do it the other way. In your scripts folder, right click, new mono behavior, and then blah, blah, blah. Okay, so for this one, we want to do a public game object. And we're going to name this player. And did I skip a thing? I did. All right, well, let's step back a step. I did the end result. So at a public float speed of 5 point f, so 5.0 f, save. Okay, so in our vehicle now, if we go down to our script, you see speed. So, like the speed is now 5. So slow, right? You can change it. And that will change it in there. But remember, if you're doing it in play, it reverts. Okay, so I feel like 10 is about where I want it. Okay. So get it to where you want it, then show me your script. Okay. Okay, so follow player. Okay. We have a public game object of player. And then in the... Okay. And then we're actually going to save it. It's going to recompile. We want to go to our main camera. So now down here, you see in that there's a blank. So we're going to grab our vehicle and put it right there. So I grabbed it from the hierarchy, placed it right there. So now that variable is set to that object. And then we're going to hop back over to our script. And what we need to do is set that object to that variable player to the position of the camera. So we're going to do transform dot position equals. Now see, this time it's helpful. So player dot transform dot position semicolon. Okay. And then we're going to grab a screenshot of it. And then go ahead and come over here and hit play. So, slight problem. It's in the player. Go ahead and save your project because we're going to fix it now. All right. So we need to add to that because otherwise it's going to set it to the literal position of the player object. So we're going to add it to a new vector 3 of 0, 5, -7. So again, X, Y, Z. Okay, and hit save. Grab a screenshot. Okay, now let's see how it looks, huh? Much better. All right. Sorry about the dog. Okay. So, same kind of thing. We need to fix the camera's position so that we can edit it in the editor, right? All right. So, we're going to go back to our script here for follow player. And we are going to add a private vector. So the difference between a public and a private is whether or not it can be accessed outside of the outside of the context with which is in. I know that is not super helpful in terms of this, but um, it will make more sense the more we do this. All right. And then I'm literally just going to copy and paste this into there. Okay. And then semicolon. And then we're going to change this into offset. Okay. 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 Then we're going to save and we're going to grab a screenshot. All right. So, okay, so one thing I want you to notice on this is like there's a little bit of jitter, right? You don't want that to happen because it is going to make your players nauseated. So let's fix that. So instead of update, we're going to change it to late update, which means that it will update instead of like synchronously with the update, it will update slightly later. So we're going to save that. We're going to grab a screenshot of it. Okay. And then we're going to test. All right. And significantly less jittery. Okay. So, remember when I talked about play mode? If we're going to be editing variables, stuff like that, you, in general, want to make sure that you are not in play mode when you're doing it. So there's a way to actually set a little kind of reminder for you. So we're going to go to edit and we're going to go to preferences and we're going to or Unity and preferences if you're on a Mac. And then we're going to go to colors on the left. And then we're going to go down to play mode tint. And I'm going to change it to be slightly pink. Slightly pink. There we go. But also like a little opaque. Okay. And then, all right, see? So I'm going to take a screenshot of this in play mode so that I can see the color difference. Pop that in. Stop. Okay. So, we're making really good progress, but now we need to make sure that the player can do more than just go straight, right? We need to be able to move left and right. So what we're going to do is go back to our player script. So we're going over to Visual Studio here. Nope, Visual Studio Code. We're going to player control. And we are going to add a public float called turn speed. Public float turn speed. We're not going to set it to anything because we're going to set it in our inspector. And then we're going to do the same kind of thing. So we're going to do a transform dot translate. We're going to do a vector 3 dot right, and then times time delta time, and instead of speed, we want turn speed. Okay, and then hit save, and then we're going to go here. And we're going to go to our vehicle, and down here we see turn speed, right? So we're going to slide that a little bit. All right, ready? Where did it go? There it is. So, works. Does not work fully as we wanted to in the final product, but it works for now. So we're going to take a screenshot of that. Make sure you get your turn speed variable and your translate in there. Okay. And then we need to make it so that, I'm sure some of you has realized, so that the left and right turn are actually done through the end user's input instead of just in the inspector, right? Because when somebody plays the game, they're not going to have access to your inspector. So what we need to do is in update, we're going to add a variable in here. Well, first we have to declare the variable, and then we have to have add it. So we're going to add a, we're going to go through and follow the instructions one by one. All right, so we're going to go to edit. We're going to go to project settings. We're going to go to input manager. We're going to go to axes. So like here's our, on our horizontal axis, we have the negative button is the left key. The positive button is the right key. Those are your arrow keys. We also have A and D, so was your WASDA. You can also use like a mouse button or joysticks for it. Okay, so there are one of these for all of these, for all of the directions. You know, vertical, horizontal, firing, jumping, all of those have automatics or ones that are already set, right? So we're not changing anything there. Just want you to see it. All right, so now we're going to go to our script. Player controller script. We're going to add the new public float. Public because we want it accessible by the instructor or inspector. Stupid hiccups. And we're going to call it horizontal input. Okay. In your scripting, if like in general, do it camel case. So first word, like again, no spaces. First word is not capitalized. Second word is. It's just a good habit to get into. And then in our update, we're gonna get set horizontal input equal to our input. Get access. And then open parentheses, horizontal. So what that is referencing is our input manager for the horizontal axis, right? Okay. So we're going to save that. We're going to hop back over to our editor. And we're going to click play. And then we're going to use our WASD or... You know what? I forgot to do a thing. It's not going to like it. Yep. I forgot to stop. The last thing we need to do is our time delta time times turn speed times our horizontal input. Otherwise, it doesn't know what to do at that point. Okay. Make sure you save. So Control S, go back over, and hit play, and it's going to start. Maybe. All right, we're going to stop. Trying to read input using the input class, but you've switched to active input. What did I miss? Horizontal. Horizontal. Uh-huh. See if I made a typo anywhere. All right. Public float. Horizontal input. Okay. And then update horizontal input is it's trying to get the input from the axis horizontal. And then the translate back to 3 right horizontal. Should be in there. Should be fine. Maybe I didn't save. Okay. Trying to get read input. Use switch to active input. I'm sure some of you are like yelling at the screen right now of what is wrong. Let's check the actual lesson. Is not gonna switch. Uh-huh. 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 Here's what we're going to do. Player controller, yes. Uh-huh. Okay, so it is vector 3 right times time delta time times turn speed times horizontal input. If this doesn't work, we're going to turn to our friend Google here. Okay. New input system. Great. They haven't updated their stuff. Cool. All the new input system packages. Player. Okay, so we're going to go to File. Nope, we're going to go to Edit. We're going to go to Project Settings. We're going to go to Player. We are going to go to under Other Settings. We are going to find Active Input Handling. So under Configuration, Active Input, both apply. Save. It's going to recompile. Make myself a note. Okay. All right, let's hit play and try it now. All right. Okay, so that fixed it. So I will update the stuff. The quiz for that. But for now, go ahead and take a screenshot of your new script. And then add it. Okay. And then it's sliding instead of turning, right? So we want it to rotate. So instead of, we're going to change some of the ways that it's called. So we've got our horizontal input. We want to change it and to, okay, so instead of transform translate, we want to do transform, like, I'm actually just going to comment this out and then do a new line. And we want to do transform dot rotate. And we want it to be vector 3 dot up and then horizontal input. So vector 3 dot up and then horizontal input. Remember our semicolon. We're going to save. And then we're going to test. That's kind of wacky, but it works. And then to make it less abrupt, we're going to add a, like in front of horizontal input, you want to put turn speed times horizontal input, and then after horizontal input, I'll put time delta time. Realistically, due to the transitive property, it doesn't really matter where you have your timesing, but like, it just helps me make sure everybody's is the same. Go ahead and play again to test. So like, it turns, but it's so slow. Up your turn speed a little bit. Let's see how that does. That's a little better. Oh, 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 okay. Anyways, so at this point, take a screenshot of your script and then add it to your file. Okay, so now we need to clean up, right? So we need to like organize our scripts in hierarchy, because if you turn something like this into production, you would be laughed out of any studio. So in our hierarchy, we're going to click into the blank space here. We're going to go to create empty. We are going to name it obstacles. Okay. And then I want you to shift click, or I think shift click still works on Mac, to get all of your obstacles and then drag them onto where it says obstacle so that they're all nested on there, right? And then in general, once you're done with your testing, you should not have public variables, just because that means that other people could potentially like oopsie them. So we're going to change all of those to privates. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. I forgot to add a freaking forward input. Okay. I'm really surprised it didn't yell at me for that. Okay, so now we want to make them all private. So private, 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 private. And then we want to initialize a couple of them. So we want to initialize turn speed to 20. And we want our speed to 20 and then turn speed to 45.0f. That just means it's a float. And then the last thing we want to do is comment our code so that other people who come in here can realize what we're doing. So we're going to okay, so that one moves our vehicle forward based on vertical input. Now that this old one is gone, we can get rid of that whole line and comment that out, and it'll be turns, or you can write rotates based on horizontal input. Okay. And then hit save. And then grab one final screenshot of your script. Boop. Pop it in your document. If you do like I did and oopsie a step, just turn in the step after. We can talk about it. All right, so the last thing you want to do is copy and paste everything over. So I'm on the 25th one. I'm copying Control C, Control V. Is it really not anymore? But you really can't. Okay. Whew, it just took a minute. All right. We are done scaring Megan today. You may have to do it a couple of times to get in there. So just make sure you're copy and pasting. You can also like right click. And then the last thing you need to do is submit, right? So that is it. That is our first lab done. It took me an hour and a half because I've been doing this forever. Do not expect it to take you an hour and a half. Please take breaks. I will add in the notice about the